Take it away, Michaella. Thank you again for joining us and running this workshop for us. Away you go.
Well, thank you to everybody that's tuning in as well. So we're going to have a look at quite a few different ways in which to upcycle clothes today, or to embellish and add things, or as Chris said earlier, just to prolong the life of them a little bit. There's quite a few different things that I'm doing. Most of the techniques are really easy. You don't need a sewing machine. I've tried to do everything so that it can be from, you know, really easy beginner level. If you've got any specific questions though, please don't hesitate to ask. It doesn't end today. You'll get my email address, and you'll be able to contact me through the Remakery Alloa on Instagram as well. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to help. Not just with this, but with any sort of craft. I'm a sort of jack of all, master of none when it comes to art and crafts. But we'll get started looking at some of the bits of upcycling we're doing. So one of the easiest things that I like doing is embellishing with ribbons. So it's really easy to do that in knitwear, especially if it's loose knitwear. So this, for example, I didn't really think much of. It was just a plain sort of, you know, red jumper, and luckily this was sort of patterned, so it gave me a very easy line to follow. And all I've done here is just so that, and as I said, this is the most basic, so it's the very basics, just to give you a very quick embellishment. But on top of that, I put a little badge or embellishment on top of here as well, and it turns something that would otherwise be a very boring jumper into something that's just a little bit nicer and a little bit more festive. This is going to have little brass Christmas trees attached to it, and that's what I'll be wearing in the next few weeks, or when I'm allowed to. Another method, especially for knitwear, and one that I think makes things look quite a lot more expensive, is adding patches to knitwear. So I like patches, whether it be leather or tweed, anything like that, and it's very in keeping with the things that are in style at the moment. The easiest way that I use to do that is this glue, which is my favourite fabric glue. It holds quite steadfast and it's really easy to use. It does take a little while to dry, varies depending on what it is that you're gluing and how much glue that you've used, but I'm going to show you how easy it would be just to add patches to. This is a very loose knit jumper, so it was hand knitted. So it works on here, and if it works on this, then it'll be really easy on everything else as well. I would advise, where possible, just to sew around the edges, just to give yourself a little bit extra security. But if you're not into sewing, we'll show you some cheats too. So we've got one patch on this side already, which you can see here. And the way I measured that, I'm a crafter more than a seamstress, so I use the easy methods of doing things. So when I was measuring this in the last class, it was literally something like this, and then I made a little mark with a pen, and that's where my patch is going to go. Now, you can be a lot more accurate than that. You can lay your sleeves down. Excuse my stickers. If you lay your sleeves down and open them up so that you've got the full length of the sleeve here, you can measure the distance and find your middle and make it accurate. I just find that, especially with knitwear and things that move, so it's normally better to get a measurement of it on your body. Just me personally, I find that. But there's no right or wrong way in upcycling, so you can do whatever it is that you find easiest. I have a scrap of tartan here. One of the best places to get fabrics, I find, especially with me being in Scotland and quite a few of you as well, is there's a lot of tartan warehouses that do scrap sales or end of season sales, and they'll sell off a lot of their old sample books of tartan, so that you will have full swatch books full of different kinds of tartan, and it's perfect for upcycling or quilting or crafting, even for Christmas presents and such.
we also got a massive amount from an upholsterers that was I think they were closing down actually, but upholsterers and like places selling curtains and things often have sample books that they're happy to get rid of at the end of a season.
They do. They also, not just for full bits of material, online places since we're in lockdown. So a lot of the places that I use, that's a good question, since we are on lockdown, it's a lot more difficult to get places. A lot of the places that I previously used are charity shops or scrap stores, and I now believe a lot of them are transitioning to you being able to order online. Since we're in lockdown, I would say that if you contact them and if there's something specific that you're looking for, I'm sure they'll be more than happy to help you if you know exactly what it is you're looking for. Try Remaking Creef. I used to work for them. They're a fantastic scrap store. You pay a membership and then you sort of pay by the item. But they have everything in there, from old display items from department stores to people's old art and craft materials that they don't need anymore, and stacks of fabric.
I was in there just last week, and I always trip in whenever I can. But yeah, they had a big roll, full roll of it was really good quality cotton, and I think it was like £40 for like the full roll, which is nothing. It'll last you forever. But yeah, they're great. All staffed by volunteers as well. Great.
It's a great place, and that's a good point as well. On FreeCycle or Gumtree, you can also just put a call out for things that you'd like. I've also found quite a lot of thank you, Tam. I've also found quite a lot of stuff on eBay, like job lots of scrap fabric or scrap materials or offcuts, which you get quite a lot as well. But it is sometimes worth contacting, like Chris said, some of the upholsters directs and things, because a lot of them don't know what to do with the things that they're no longer using, especially now because a lot of the suppliers will have changed. But in addition to the fabric books, you get the sample books that also have all the trimmings in them as well. So I bought previously a couple of books that were just full of bits like this, and they're great for decorating things. All sorts of things. I'll show you an example here. Well, a couple of examples. So, normal boots, trimmings added, and feathers. And they've just been fixed with Velcro so that they're removable as well. But these are just trimmings with some feathers stitched and glued onto it, and they can come off and be removed. So the sample books are really handy for all sorts of different embellishments. You can get ones for buttons and all sorts of things. So there's one thing that you can do with them, and there's another little set there that has just been decorated and all these added on just to make them a little bit more interesting than they would have been before, and a lot more wearable. So it's part. I have you could use dressmaker's chalk, you could use normal chalk. Dressmaker's chalk looks like this. Or at the moment I'm really lazy, and because of lockdown it's easier for me just to get things from the sort of local pound store. So I'm just using an acrylic pen that I can see on the fabric, and I've just traced out the patch shape here. I'm just going to cut that out, and then I'm going to glue it onto the elbow of the jumper. So it's just a very rough patch here. The little area that I marked earlier on with the pen here. I'm just going to smooth out, and then I'm going to get a paintbrush and apply some of the fabric glue, which I think this was only about £3 or £4 from the works, on the back of the fabric, and then onto the wool, and let that dry. After that's dry, I'm going to stitch around it just to reinforce that, to make sure that it doesn't fall off in the wash and things as well.
Miriam's asking, can you use Wonder Web instead of fabric and glue and then stitch around the edges?
Of course you can. I've actually got some
I actually learned
Here.
about Wonderweb on our last sewing encounter.
Yep, I've got some heat bond here. So heat bond, I'm sure if you're not familiar with the name, you'll remember your school trousers getting hemmed with heat bond or Wonderweb, or just a strip that was put at the bottom of the trousers, and then you just iron it in between two parts of material and it bonds it together. I'll show you how to use that properly in a little while.
Can you just give us the name of the glue again?
Yes, it is Ocaldo fabric glue. It was from the works, but there is a product list that everyone will get sent at the end as well, so you don't need to remember. You don't need to remember too much of what I'm saying, because we've got a product list for you as well.
Yeah, I've already said that. I'm going to be sending that out in the email with all the other bits and pieces after this as well.
Nearly everything that I source, I get from the pound shop or the works, just because of, if it's not from a charity shop or a scrap store, just purely because of the financial, just the financial implications. I don't feel like there's much point in upcycling something if you're going to spend a fortune to do that. So most of the items that you'll find me using today, you'll be able to get them very easily in the works or the pound shop. So I have just, oh, you can see that quite well, just coated that in glue, and I'm just going to pop that down there. And then once that's dry, I'll sew around the edges just to reinforce that. I'm probably going to use a contrast and embroidery thread. So for example, on this one, the contrasting colour that would be best to use would probably be orange or something like that, just to bring out the orange dots that are in the fabric, and just to make it look more of a design feature, like it's meant to be there. Just exposed seams, exposed stitching, that sort of thing. So yeah, that's a very easy way to jazz up a jumper with patches. So we're going to let that dry. Another wondrous thing that you can do with fabric glue is to upcycle shirts. So there's a lot of shirts that I've bought in the past that maybe are just a bit boring now and that don't really fit in with the way that I dress anymore. One thing that I've loved this fabric, Wonderweb. Can you use Wonderweb on shiny polyester fabric? It does depend, because you do have to iron it. So it would depend on the kind of fabric. You should always put some greaseproof paper on top of the fabric. So you would have fabric, Wonderweb, then more fabric and greaseproof paper, just to protect it for yourself. But do check the labels. If it gives you a warning against high heat, then you might find that you're not able to heat it enough for the Wonderweb to actually work. But it will be very dependent on the individual fabric and the things that you're using. Though what I will say is just try it. You know, that's the main thing with upcycling. Try it. There's everything here's been sourced from charity shops or donated or is second hand or I was going to bin. So don't be afraid just to experiment. It's fine if things don't work out the first time. You can do them again. You know, someone might use it for something, or you can cut up and use it for another project. So that glue that we just used for the patch, I also used it for this. Now we're going a little bit Ralph Lauren with this shirt. You can see the details on the collar and the black ribbon there. So all I've done with this one is I got a length of black ribbon and the same glue, just put the suggestion for covering the hole in man's jumper at the front. I think there's something that you might be able to use with that, and that we can do with that in a minute. We're going to do something on the jeans with patches that I think could be quite funny if you get the right fabric to do the jumper with. So please remind me about that when we come to it. So with this same glue, all I did was just do a line of glue just along the the rim, the bottom of the collar, and I've just applied the. I'm sure you'll be able to find something fitting for him.
Age means nothing. Age means nothing.
It doesn't. It doesn't at all. The glue has just been placed along here, and then the black ribbon's been placed along the top of it and left to dry, and that's literally all that's happened here. You could use a running stitch just to make sure that that's just giving it a little bit extra security. A running stitch is simply that stitch that goes. Oh, let me show you. It's always easier to show you with things than to try and explain it, I think. I hope you'll be able to see because it's white thread.
And while Michaella's threading a needle, let's see if she can do it first time as well. But while Michaella's threading a needle, like she said at the start there, she's we're going to show you mostly everything you can do with hand stitch, or if you've got a first time, nicely done. Or if you've got a sewing machine, that can just speed the process up. We may use a sewing machine, but that's only for time constraints. Like everything that we're showing you today doesn't need specialist equipment or equipment that you can't borrow from us.
So a good little trick with your thread as well, probably don't bite it given the current situation. If you're going to be giving this as a gift to anybody, use scissors. To create a knot at the end of your thread to stop it pulling out after you've threaded your needle. Wrap it around your finger a couple of times loosely, and then if you roll them off your finger and pull that down, you're left with a little knot there. So your running stitch would be simply, I'm going to start from the inside. Now this is a contrasting thread. Obviously you would want to do one that was not contrasting so that it was hidden, but this is just for the sake of you being able to see. So we've got our knot, and pretend we're doing this in black thread. So thread coming through here, and the running stitch is just, you might want a thimble because after you've used the glue it can be a little bit tough. It's just in and out. Like that, you see that? So running stitch is just repeating that all the way along, and that's all a running stitch is, and it's one of the fastest, it's one of the easiest, and you can use it for multiple different things. I find it very, very handy. And all your stitches will look a little bit like that. So if you want to give something extra security, just do it closer together. And you can do a couple of stitches and then pull your thread out. Just be careful not to knot your thread, but that's a simple running stitch. So other than that, on the shirt we've also used the glue to glue all these beads. They weren't there before. And it was just a plain white shirt. You can see here I've started gluing some on the side. And all I've done for this is applied a little bit of glue. You want to make friends with your closest charity shops. This is one of the best tools I've got for upcycling. And what this is a full of broken bits of jewellery and broken beads off of clothing. So whenever I'm doing anything, I've already got a supply that's sorted out into colours or styles like shells or something that I can then top up these things and use quite easily and quite quickly. So I'm just using more pearls to decorate this, and I've got some little gold beads that I'm going to put on as well. I think they were off a necklace. And I'm just placing them on and pushing them in. Not much more you need to do than that. You guys see that?
I love that container as well.
You do like that container. It'd be good for fishing.
It's just so good. Although it'll have screws and little bits of felt for me. screws, nuts and bolts and washers. They wouldn't be organised. They'd just be like different compartments full of different size screws and washers.
Well, it's normally quite organised. Saying that, I can't find the beads that I'm looking for. Where are they? There we go. So these ones are actually, these are like little jewellery fixings. And you can get a lot of different charity shops or car boot sales. You'll find a lot of just kind of job lots of these things that people have bought and then have decided that they're not going to use. But another thing that's worth noting is that charity shops don't sell broken jewellery. So if you have a charity shop that's near you, ask them to keep the broken jewellery for you, or if you can give them a donation for their broken jewellery, because they're not allowed to sell it, and most of them just bin it, which is an extraordinary waste, especially if you are into upcycling. So you would just keep going that until you find the same shape as you have on the other side. So just need to pull it up a little bit at the corner there, and add a few little bit more, and then set that to the side to dry as well, and then that'll be that done too. Is that okay for everyone so far? I know those bits have just been gluing. We're just about to move on to some other things here as well. But is everyone happy with that? Is everyone getting ideas?
Any questions so far in any of that? Cool.
With your broken jewellery, this was a necklace that I had, and just quite a boring jumper, to be honest. And all I've done with that is use the running stitch that I've shown you just to attach this necklace round the neckline of the jumper. Which just changes it completely. It looks quite glamorous, and it's really, really cheap to do. I think I paid 25p for that necklace, and I'm sure the jumper was like £1 at the charity shop, something like that. But it looks quite expensive, and it also looks very similar to what a lot of the designers are doing on the catwalk right now. They are adding a lot of sort of collar type embellishments or bracelet type embellishments to jumpers. So yeah, really, really easy, really, really effective, and just a running stitch. Got that one there. This has got more jewellery embellishments now. With this,
are you just using regular thread for that as well, or would you need to use a thicker or more of a polyester kind of thread?
I just use normal thread for everything. If I'm in any doubt, then I would. I mean, a polyester thread or a thread that's more sort of like fishing gut's obviously going to be a lot stronger, you know, to hold it. The jumper would be okay as long as you're putting it in on like a hand wash. But the other thing that you could do is you can use jewellery clips, you know, the little clips that you get at the back of your necklace. You could use them, and you could actually just sew those on and then just clip the necklace on to the little jewellery clip. So if you were concerned about the jewellery fading or discolouring the item of clothing at all, then you can always just use the little jewellery catches and just attach the necklace or the jewellery all the way around with them instead. Would be another option. But the polyester thread would be a good idea depending on how heavy your jewellery is. Also on how tight it is to get the needles through. So for example, with this one, I couldn't use a polyester thread because of the way this belt's made. When I'm trying to sew it on, the gap's too small it's not, I need to use a thinner thread with that. Whereas if I'm using a heavier necklace, then something like fishing gut or something that's a polyester thread that would have a little bit more strength would probably hold it much better. But again, when I'm stitching stuff, I triple stitch them just to make sure that they're going to be okay. So these wee clips, these are the ones I mean. If you're worried about your item discolouring or anything because of the jewellery, then just sew loads of these on instead, and then just attach your necklace with these, and then these little bits of metal that will be going in the washing machine. Again, I would probably hand wash. A lot of the things that I do embellishment wise are on knitted things anyway, so I do hand wash. I do put them on a hand wash cycle for most of the things, which is a little bit more delicate. So with this was an old belt that I found in some really, really old jeans, very old jeans. And what I've done with these, the pocket was just as such, and I have started to just sew the belt round. And again, that's using the running stitch. I'm just going to show you with this little last bit here how I was applying that. I've purposely left the clip on just because it's really handy for hanging my car keys off or attaching my purse onto. So you could just remove that with some jewellery pliers or pull them if you're strong enough. But I like leaving that on, especially just now. It's just a little added bit of security for my purse going in my front pocket or keys hanging off the front, anything like that. So I'm just going to finish sewing these bits on. You can see here, I'll pull that out. You can see here how close the stitches are. Well, I hope you can anyway. So it's not too much you need to attach, but that's plenty close together, those stitches, to hold that bit of jewellery in place and to stop it from coming out. So I've still got a bit of thread here, and we'll get another needle.
Can I just ask as well, just to everyone here, has anyone done any upcycling already in the past? You can either speak up or put it into the chat.
Well, I hope you're learning something. I hope we managed to teach you enough to go away and get excited about doing some.
I put a panel in the back of a dress, but the fabrics weren't the correct weight and it never worked right. It's
difficult, especially when you are upcycling. A lot of it will just be trial and error, because you don't know you don't necessarily have all the labelling, so you don't necessarily know what the exact dyes were, or what the exact fabric was, you know, all that sort of stuff. So it can be a lot of trial and error, but that's a lot of the fun of it as well.
Yeah, you're right. I've done a bit of embellishment and I've dyed a lot of stuff.
Dyeing's fun. Dyeing can be really fun. I like dyeing and tie dyeing. That's quite good. The machine dye ones, is it Dylon?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty good. I find them quite fun.
Yeah, they are. They're really good.
So this is me.
Go on.
No, on you go, Chris.
I was just saying we've got quite a few answers gone through there, so lots of ideas. Rosemary says not really, because I think it always looks naff when I've done it. I guess if you're looking to, like Michaella alluded to earlier, have a look at what's going on in the fashion magazines on the catwalk, see what they're doing, try to replicate it. I think maybe you've been a bit harsh on yourself there. Pair of jeans into a skirt but never worn it.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. Mending but never embellished.
So I'm just going over this stitch 3 times just to make sure that it's solid in there and that that's not going to come off. And then I'm just going to cut this with scissors. Ideally, I would have had jewellery pliers here, but I don't, so I'm just going to use scissors. They're called Old Faithful, so can you see that?
Massive. Katie says she likes the centre of the top that you're wearing.
Oh, this is really easy to replicate as well. All that would just be a case of gathering. Sorry, I'll need to stand at an angle that you can actually see that. So all that would be is, if you've got material like that, you could quite literally just do a stitch of quite a thick thread with a knot at the bottom, up and down, come out here, and then you just pull it, and then it'll give you that sort of thing. The other thing you can do is you could even just tie it. I mean, like with this one, if it's not tied, it sits about down here because it was far too big for me. But if I if I loop that one round there, and just tie it in a bow, then, you know, it sits a lot better. It's a lot more flattering as well. But the little tips and tricks like that are really good. If you can use the same technique with using brooches, can look beautiful. If you've got a top that looks really plain or that the neckline isn't flattering, then if you use like a brooch, the same way as you would a running stitch, just pull down the top, and then to gather it a little, you can give yourself a beautiful sort of V-neck or sweetheart neckline just for using a brooch. And let's be fair, most people don't wear brooches that much, they don't utilise them anymore, so it's a nice use for them. Right, sorry, I'll get this one done as quickly as possible and get that. So I've literally just cut those off with those old faithful scissors, and now we've got a little bit of an embellished pocket here.
Nice.
Steampunk's amazing. That would have been fantastic to see a steampunk weather. I can only imagine what that would have been like. So that's a really easy way of just embellishing the pockets, and as you can see there, it can look really quite pretty. So you can do that on anything, not just jeans. Do that on necklines, do that on cuffs. You know, you could use things right here. There's a lot of that going on with Gucci and Chanel at the moment. Embellishing over the top of knitwear seems to be a thing for the fashion industry at the moment. So that's one way of doing that. With your jeans, these ones we've done a little bit of bleaching with. I don't know if everyone saw the TikTok trend with bleaching. This probably fits into your steampunk thing quite well as well. And what we've done with this, there was just some old bleach left underneath the sink, and we diluted that 1/3 bleach to 1 part bleach to 2 parts water in a spray bottle, and outside with a bag inside the trouser leg we sprayed it, and this is what it's done. So it's bleached the front and the back, you can see more clearly. That was closer, but I think I like this effect better just because it was more spread out, and that was just with a spray bottle and bleach and water, which is really cool. Another thing that you can do is you can bleach just certain areas. So I've also done the pocket, and I just painted that. What you might want to do if you want to do certain areas though, is maybe mask it off with plastic or something, just so that it doesn't bleed. Because what I found in doing this, it did work with bleaching the pocket, but it did bleed a little bit. Which I wasn't 100% happy with. So the other thing that you can do with the bleach as well, please protect your hands, wear gloves, and do it outside, if not in an extremely well ventilated area. So you can use a paintbrush. So if you've got a large paintbrush, and you can do this with acrylic paints as well, because acrylic paints, if you use on clothes, you can paint them and then you can iron them with greaseproof paper, and it will stay pretty steadfast. So if you've got either bleach or acrylic paint, you can load your paintbrush up and flick on the end of the trousers, and it'll give you a similar effect like this, but it'll be more paint splashes. And if you repeat colours, then it'll look fantastic. So the Bondo web I can show you quickly on here, just because it's a hem, how you use that. So if you've got a lot of this stuff happening at the bottom of your trousers, you get this wonderful stuff called Bondo web, and it's just a paper. It just feels like a paper. It doesn't feel much different from that, but I don't know if you'll be able to see this with the light. One side is sort of perforated and shiny, and one side isn't. It's because you've got 2 layers there, and the layer that you want is the shiny side. So this one, all I'm going to do here is cut the rough width of the size that I would like to hem these jeans, if I was hemming them. And you would just cut whatever length it is that you require for the full length of the jeans. It does fold out, these do come in sheets, so it is quite easy just to measure like this, turn it over, and then you've got the length, complete length in which you need for your Bondo web. So when you've got that cut, the layers come off. Oh, the jumper into a cushion cover is really good. We're going to cover that shortly, actually, as well. It's amazing the things that you can do with sweaters. Again, I'd love to see pictures of anyone that's done any of these makes. Please send them in and let us see them all. We always love to see everything that everyone's doing.
Did you say there's an Instagram that we can reach you on? Have you
Me, yes. The Remakery Aloha.
All one word?
Yeah. I've just placed that bit of Wonderweb in there and folded the hem over. So I would say I wanted to hem it this much. Yes, I can drop you an email, no problem at all. Chris, would you mind popping my email down there, please?
Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah.
Thank you. So the Wonderweb is in between here. It's in between these two bits. And now all you have to do for that is I always just use greaseproof paper over the top of clothes anyway if I'm using Wonderweb, just to make myself secure. I would also, if you're using Wonderweb, put greaseproof in between just in case. The Remakery Aloha is not open at the moment. Hopefully, I'm waiting. I am champing at the bit to get back in there, so I'm just waiting until they give me the go ahead and that I can get back in. Unfortunately, it's been a bit of a rocky one this year, but everything crossed. I'm going to get back in there. I'm making a lot of things, however, and I'm still available on there if you've got any questions or if there's anything I can help you with, or if I can get in touch with, if you need something from the Remakery, then I can try and make that happen as well. But you can definitely get in contact with me on there, and that'll have the most up-to-date information of when it is back open as well. So put your greaseproof paper in between and on top, and you would iron it, and after you've ironed it, it sticks, and that's you hemmed something. It is so easy, but you could use the same thing for the patches, as was mentioned earlier on, and then you can just reinforce the sewing. Me, when I went to school, I was lazy. I didn't even reinforce Wonderweb, but it held up quite good with school trousers. The place in Crieff, I believe they were open. Chris said that they went up to see them last week, but with the current situation changing as much as it is, I would always just recommend that you phone everywhere first just to make sure what's happening, because I'm sure if they're not able to open and for you to physically be there, then there'll be other ways or other methods that they'll be putting in place so that you can still get access. So I wouldn't like to say, yeah, they're going to be open, because it was just today she was on, Michaella was on the news, wasn't it? So I'm not really sure what the repercussions of that's going to be.
Yeah, just double check. Last time I checked, it was open on Fridays and I think Saturdays, limited opening, and then it's like one person in, one person out kind of thing at the minute as well, and a one-way system, of course. But
they're very kind, and that's not the only one. I mean, there's other ones that are in. I mean, there will be the one in Aloha as soon as I manage to get back in there. But other than that, there is a couple in Edinburgh and Glasgow as well, I believe, and there's some down. Say again?
Dundee's got one as well. It's got a scrap store.
And down at the borders, I think there's a couple as well. So if you look up UK scrap stores, because I do think some of them do postal ones, not the Scottish ones, but I think some of the English ones do postal things and have been for a while. They even do like kits that are quite good, you know, for kids crafting and things like that. Remake did do them as well. I don't know if that's something that they're still doing.
They do have Remake, I'm sure, do have an eBay shop.
Oh, brilliant. That's good. That's really good.
I overheard that when I was in there. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what someone said you can buy on eBay.
That's good. That's really good. There used to be that it was the more sort of valuable items, but they might have, just because of the current situation, I don't even know what they're transitioning to now. I don't know what would be most convenient way for them to work. It's very difficult with art and craft stuff, isn't it? Because it's a very tactile thing. Paints, we're talking about paints as well, and painting things. So as well as the splashing, you can actually just paint whatever you like on your clothing. Denim responds particularly well to acrylic paint. You can use fabric paints. There's special purpose for leather paints. There's also acrylic pens, which you can get. They actually have gold and silver acrylic paints in the pound shops at the moment, which are these ones here. These are a make called Posca. They're extremely good. You get different thicknesses of these, and there you get them in a rainbow of colours. Because these are acrylic pens, it means that you can directly draw on your clothing, whether it be t-shirts, jeans, whatever it is that you say. So I'm going to show you on this little pocket here. Now, with the acrylic pens, you have to press down to get the ink going, to get the paint going quite a few times. So please try and have a scrap bit of paper or fabric that you can work on before you go straight onto your design. Don't know. I was going to try and make this look steampunky, but I don't know how good my art skills will be when we're live on camera. Right, so you know you could keep going and going and going as much as you want. That's just to show you very basic, and that's just with the black acrylic pen, just to show you how well it goes. You can get different thicknesses as well, so that you could be a lot neater. And you can also use paintbrushes, so that it's really easy, isn't it? It's really easy, Pam. I can't tell you how much these acrylic pens were a game changer when I discovered them. It just makes life so much easier. Even so, these bits have already been painted. That's just with acrylic paint that I painted these sections in. And I'm just going to show you this acrylic pen on top of the acrylic paint, just how quick and easy it can be. But you get some fantastic tutorials. One of the best tutorials I saw on this was about, she was drawing a sunflower on her pocket, painting a sunflower on her pocket, sorry, and it was fantastic. It was really, really good. So that's the acrylic pen over the top of the acrylic paint. So they both work. And then to seal them in so that you can wash them, you would want to put greaseproof paper, iron them, and then that locks that in. But it does mean that you can work with them like you would acrylic paint on canvas. You can build up layers and stuff too, which is quite handy. These, you'll see on the same pocket, there's lots of little gems. That's these. So you get these from the pound shop, and you get your fabric glue, and you glue them wherever you feel like. That's what that is. Just very easy, very quick, but very effective. And you can replace them pretty easily as well, because you get loads and loads and loads of them for £1. Loads of them for £1. So that's a little bit of acrylic paint. Is that okay for bleaching and acrylic painting? Can you show again the tape you use for the clothes? It can be any acrylic paint at all, any acrylic paint at all, it doesn't matter, as long as you seal it. And I wouldn't say the best brands, but I buy the acrylic paints I use are just the ones from the works in the pound shop, because just as I said, I try and keep everything as cost effective as possible. I don't believe in spending a lot of money to upcycle an item. So everything that I'll get here everything that you see here would be available from the works or the pound shop at push Amazon or Hobbycraft, but that's ultimate push if I can't get anything anywhere else. That's the heat bond fabric there, so that you can get a little look at that. And what was the other question along with the heat bond fabric? Sorry, I missed that. It was a two-part question, wasn't it?
So can you show again the tape used for the clothes, the bag to use, the name, please?
Right, okay, so that, yeah, there was that bag, and then the sheet. The tape comes in a big sheet like this, folded. But you can buy just also, you can just get the tape as well. So you don't have to buy it in a sheet like this. You can just buy a tape. But it would be called either Bond a Web or Heat Bond. It would be the things that it would come up as if you were looking for it on the internet.
I guess all the local sewing shops would sell that as well.
Yep. Again, I got that from the pound shop. It's just, it sounds awful, but I just don't, maybe it's a Scot in me, I just really, I can't see the point in trying to give something a second lease of life and then spending more money on embellishing or upcycling the item than the item was originally worth, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I'm very much just use what you've got, or use what's cheap and handy, especially right now. Which brings me to the kinds of paint. So I have got these on the list as well, but these ones, the make's called Create, and it was an £8 set, I think, for like 24 acrylic paints from the works. But they do have small sets in the pound shop of acrylic paints just now, and they are £1 for 8 colours, and they're pretty good as well. I can't say that I've used enough acrylic to notice a quality difference between them. They all seem to work pretty well when you're using them on clothing. That's just acrylic though. If you want to make sure that your stuff's going to stay there forever, use a specialised fabric paint. Would be the best advice I can give you there. So we've done a little bit of bleaching, we've done a little bit of patches, and we've done a little bit of embellishment. T-shirt cutting was another thing that I thought you might be interested in. So there's a few different ways that you can cut t-shirts, hundreds and hundreds of tutorials online. I'm just going to show you some of the easiest ways to do it today. Any limits on which fabrics to paint? Well, that's difficult because it depends on the wear. It depends if it's really tight. If it's really tight fitted, then the paint might crack. It might be a bit more difficult. So probably fabric that's got less give and less stretch in it will make for better painted stuff, which is why I paint on denim, just because it's got a little bit less give in it. It works more like a canvas. So anything that you think would work like a canvas would be quite good. But things like cotton, you would just switch to fabric paints, and then you wouldn't have that problem, because you can get quite reasonably priced fabric paints from places like The Works or online. I would urge people not to go to the big places like Amazon and Hobbycraft. Try and shop local, especially just now, but I know that can be difficult. So maybe eBay, maybe sort of local sellers on eBay, that might be the next thing. Fabric paint's really good though. Try fabric paint. Acrylic paints are handy just because a lot of people have them hanging about the house, and because you can get them places like the pound shop right now. So if you don't want to go to the expense of getting fabric paint, acrylic's the next best thing. Hope that answers that one. So I'll show you a couple of examples of different t-shirts that we've cut. This one looks like this from the front, and this from the back, so it's backless. Now all we've done there is cut the sleeves off here, and we've pulled that quite tight and cut it. So after that's been cut, after this bit here's been cut, it's been twisted and sewn back together, which is how you get the twisted straps. So you're just, and then you're obviously having to cut the scoop out the back as well. I'll show you on a little example in just a second. I'll just go through a couple of the different ones that we've done first. We've got half cut t-shirts and fully cut t-shirts and half demonstrated t-shirts. This one's quite a good one as well. This is easy. So this was a normal sort of baggy t-shirt, which has been cut. So it was like this. It was just a normal black sort of t-shirt. It's been cut straight down the front, and there's also been a line cut up here and along the back, so that there's a rectangular bit of fabric that has been cut out from the back of the t-shirt, this bit here. That's been cut out just along here, along my back. Now the reason for that is because when you have these bits, you can then turn it into either a wraparound top or it can be tied here as an over top here, and that was just a plain black t-shirt. But you can use any colour t-shirt. You could use long sleeve ones as well, and it's literally just cutting it down the front and cutting a rectangle off the back, just to give you two long bits here that you can then stretch and tie around the back. Don't need to finish the edging, you can just tuck it in. Because it's t-shirt material, with t-shirts it almost takes more effort to finish the edging, because they'll look really good when they're just cut anyway, and they naturally curl in when you cut them. So that's just folded in, and you wouldn't have to you wouldn't have to finish it at all, and then it would just be tied at the back. So. But the longer the t-shirt, so if you were to use this with a dress, then this was just a t-shirt that came to here, so if you were to do something similar with a dress, then you would get a longer top that would finish here, you know, that would be very form hugging, but it would be longer. So you can do that same technique with t-shirts or with dresses. Quite a fun and quick one. This one, that's the one we're going to show you how to do in a minute. That's my favourite one. This one is another really quick and easy one. Is you've just got your normal t-shirt, and right round the neckline, here, what we've done is we've cut where the collar is. I've cut a line right round the collar here, and then I've just cut a triangle here. So I've cut a triangle and then just round the collar, and then you pull these bits afterwards. And the effect that gives is, sorry, it's my makeup that was on it, that's why it looked just from trying on demonstrating. So if these are, you see a lot of people with band t-shirts in this style just now, so it would have like, I don't know, Slayer or something, and they sell online for like 35 quid. And that's it. You can cut the sleeves off if you like as well, to give you sort of more unfinished edges, and again they roll up. Try and show you there. So when you cut the edges, they just sort of, they roll when you pull them, and it's the same for these. When you pull them, the edge just, it finishes itself better, so you don't actually need to sew anything with the t-shirts. There's that one. This one, what was this one? Right, this one is the next one we're going to show you how to do. And this was one of the first ones that I learned how to do, and it is absolutely great fun. This one. You see, it looks like a spine. So that started life just as a normal t-shirt. So right. Looks like a spine all the way down. So started life as a normal t-shirt, just like this. But what we're going to do is I'm going to use a white one so that you can see it a little bit more clearly. So normal t-shirt, just like this. And we start by drawing lines. I am just using a permanent marker so that you can see. It would be better if you could use chalk or a marker that's going to wash off. So you want to start quite high to the top, but not right underneath the collar. So maybe leave. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for joining.
Have a good night. See you again, Miriam. And yeah, this will be available on YouTube in the coming weeks. I'll try and remember to email everyone on the sign up when it is on YouTube, so you can go away and have a look at it.
So you want to leave a couple of inches at the top. And then I'm just going to draw lines all the way down, and I'm going to cut along those lines. What I might do is I might shorten the lines on the way down so that it gives a V instead of just the straight So I've just made the lines that get slightly shorter from the top to the bottom, and I'm just going to cut along them. If you're neat enough, you wouldn't necessarily have to draw them in, to be fair. You could just cut them straight in if you trust yourself that much. I don't. So I'll use these. So just cutting all the way along those lines that we've just drawn. And I think those lines are about an inch between each other. You can do the lines closer together if you want. It's entirely up to yourself. It will change the look, but they look really cool the more lines you put in. Just don't do them too thin so that it breaks. You'll be able to see how squint my cutting is on here against the line. So that's all those lines cut now. And what we're going to do is take your first one underneath your finger and you're going to twist it and then pull the next one through. So you've got your first line here, twist it and pull the next one through.
You need a third hand, I think.
I do, I need a third hand. Wait a second, I know what we'll do. Right, here we go. Right, so pull that one through, twist that hoop again, then you pull the next bit through, twist that again, pull the next one through, twist that again. A dummy is required. Normally I would fulfill both of them, but
due to social distancing, I have to stay home.
Pull that one through, twist that again. I'm trying to make sure I don't miss one. You're right, I do need some. Pull that through, twist it again. So you're just pulling and twisting all the way down. Pull that through, twist it again. Pull it through, twist it again. Nearly done. Pull it through, twist it again. And again. And again. Now at the bottom, I just cut the last loop and tie it to this one. So I just wrap them round that a couple of times and just tie it in a little knot so that it's holding itself to the t-shirt. Like that. And what you should be left with is something like this. One second, I shall. Oh gosh, not wearing the right attire to be showing this off today. That's what you're left with. Something like that. And you can neaten that up. Obviously, mine is just flung on, so you might have a little bit of sorting to do. You can do the opposite way around as well, so that you've got that at the front, and then use it layering and just put vest tops underneath it as well. That can look really cool, and they make really good skeleton costumes for the kids at Halloween as well, which is good fun. Is that okay? Was that all right? Could everyone see quite easily how to do that technique?
Yeah, I think that looked okay.
Yes.
I was thinking as well, I guess you could do like two, so do one on each side, one on the left, one on the right, going down the back.
You definitely can. Another thing that's quite good to do with the t-shirts as well, so that one, like that one's going down the back, you can see it quite well on that one. But if you cut t-shirts in a similar fashion to that, but at the side, and then just cut it and tie it in knots, the t-shirts look really cool as well. Let me find one, I'll show you. Right, so normal t-shirt, and we're just gonna, again, draw lines. I always do like an inch line maybe, thickness between. So we're just gonna draw lines like that down the side of the t-shirt and then cut them. And this also makes t-shirts a lot more fitted. So if you've got, like I've got a lot of old t-shirts that I've got on gigs or on tours and things, and they're not very well fitted. So this is quite a good way to change that with minimal effort and minimal tailoring. So that's the sides just been cut all the way down there. And I'm going to pull these first because it looks better when they're a little bit stretched. So I'm just going to pull them out first, cut down the seam, and retie it. And it looks like sort of similar effect to, I don't know if you can remember, in the 90s there was those t-shirts that had the sort of safety pins all down the sides with open sides. This will give a similar sort of effect, but it's just fabric and there's less flesh on show. I would wear a t-shirt underneath it as well. But. Just so you can see how that's going there, I'm just tying those that sort of got these slats that I've cut, and then I am cutting them down the seam here and just tying them back together in a knot closer together. Yeah. I'll also, with these ones, if I'm ever doing this style, I always cut the sleeves off as well, even if it's just the edges of the sleeves, just because they look a little bit more rock and roll and just a little bit cooler, really.
I was thinking I guess it'll work with only certain band t-shirts. I can't see it looking right with like a Cliff Richard t-shirt.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't think I've seen a Cliff Richard band t-shirt, Chris, so I couldn't comment on that.
Like, I can imagine it was Slayer or yeah, something like that. ZZ Top.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Westlife or something might not quite have the same. So I've just cut the edge of the sleeve off here as well, and again I'm just pulling that because then it will start to roll up, and I'm just going to fling this on so that you can see the difference in the side that's been done and the side that hasn't. So that would be, and that would just get rolled up there then. So that would be the side that is done. Can you see that okay? Heavy metal Westlife fans are like that. In comparison to the side that hasn't done. So you can see how fitted this is now in comparison to this side before. And the other thing that you could do is if you were to cut this here, you would then make it an off the shoulder as well, which can also sit quite nice. Again, just pull that, just to give the same as we've done with this, just to give you a little bit more shape. So there's another couple of t-shirt cutting ideas for you. We've got, this I'll have to show you that. So if anyone pays any attention to a lot of the catwalks just now in any of the fashion shows, a lot of the things that are in just now is patchwork. And it's very exciting because it means that you can completely transform anything that you've got in the house that you don't like already. So you just use the pattern and you cover it in patchwork. What I mean by that is I have got t-shirts or shirts or just very, very simple clothing that I like the shape of, that I have dismantled, put it down to the bog pattern, and then just sew any scraps of fabric together that you have in any manner at all, any scraps of fabric together that you have, and use the pattern from the clothes that you've dismantled to make your pattern out of this. Yes, they are very trendy. They're extremely trendy. So trendy. If you look at Dolce & Gabbana, if you look at Gucci, then all their stuff looks like this, and probably your sofa is extremely trendy just now. But another cute thing to do with that is the patches. So we were talking about patches on someone's jumper, someone's husband's jumper earlier on, I think. This is quite a good way to do that. These are my favourite jeans that I've had since I was 15. It's a very, very long time ago. And as you can see, they're slightly falling apart. Well, more than slightly. They're falling apart.
So where are the jeans? I just see a bunch of holes.
And well, I said I've had them since I was 15. That is a long, long time ago.
To be fair, that is rock and roll with a band t-shirt as well.
It is. It's all fitting. See, I came coordinated. I came ready.
You'll be the coolest person at that Cliff Richard concert.
I will be. Oh, I should. Do you know what I should do? I should get some fabric I print out of a Cliff Richard t-shirt and just have his little face peeking out from one of the holes in the jeans.
That's bordering on creepy.
Could have done that with ghosts for Halloween. That would have been quite funny.
Sorry, any Cliff Richard fans. We mean no harm.
We don't. Summer Holiday is one of my favourite films. So these jeans, I decided to start to try and patch these up because, as you can see, they're falling apart quite substantially. So in order to fix that, what I have done is put a little bit of fringing round and stuck a bit of fabric on the back of it, and it really is that easy. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you, Katie. Thank you very much for joining in.
Yeah, thank you. We'll see you again. And again, please check your emails and check the YouTube links and that one. I'll be sending that out too.
So this is the patch that I've done, and you see there that there's tartan underneath, and then there's trimmings all around the side there. So when I'm wearing it, you get a little bit of the tartan and a little bit of the trimmings. You could do the same thing with the lace, or you could do the same thing with, you know, any ribbons, any of these sort of things. Hessian works really great as well to do the same thing with. And it's a very similar technique we learned to patching a sofa last time we done this. So if you can patch these jeans, then you can also patch a sofa. Isn't that right, Chris?
Apparently,
that's what we were doing last time, wasn't it? So with the holes, if you want to trim them with something, so if you would like to put something decorative, like the trim around them, like a little bit of lace, then just find whatever it is that you want to decorate with. I've got a little bit of lace in here I'm just going to grab. Right, so this is a lace something t-shirt. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a little bit of the sleeve off, and I'm going to use this around the very edges of the hole on my jeans. Again, I'm just going to use the fabric glue just now, and later on I would go over a stitch with that as well. So I'm just going to find the bit that I want to patch, and that bit looks good to me. So with this bit here is the bit that we're going to do.
For the jumper for the male, I quite like the Hessian idea. We talked about that last time, and I've got some jeans and some old Hessian my girlfriend's determined to throw out, but it's going to come in useful. So I'm gonna. I think that kind of looks nice. It was a bit more. I hate to use these sort of like male and female words, but it's a bit more rugged, a bit more rough, I guess.
Yeah.
As well.
Exactly. That's what I think the example that we gave the last time was I'd done a Chesterfield sofa in a very similar way to these jeans. So it was a full leather Chesterfield sofa, and where I'm putting lace just now, I put Hessian round the edge because it was a cushion cover that I was doing. But if you can't remove the seat cover, or if it's on the arm of a sofa, you put the fabric in, and then you use like a paintbrush or a chopstick, it was, Chris, wasn't it, to push the fabric in if you're patching a sofa.
Yeah. Okay, Lynn's got to leave us now as well. Thank you for coming, Lynn. Yeah, check us out elsewhere. We've got a few other workshops coming up, both sewing, and we've got furniture on the weekend as well, haven't we? Furniture upcycling.
We do. Furniture upcycling on the weekend. So I've cut a little bit of this lace off here, and what I'm going to do is I am going to put a little bit of glue just around the edges here, and I'm going to glue this just so that it's just overlapping, so it's not covering the full thing, but just so that you're going to be able to see the edges of it. And then I'm going to put another bit of fabric on top of this. So I shall show you where I'm putting the glue first, and then we'll apply the lace, and then we'll apply the rest of the fabric. And this fabric glue is really, really good. I do like it. I would recommend that you just reinforce everything just for your own peace of mind, so that you're not having to go over it again. So that's just some glue all around the edge there. And then we're just going to position these bits of lace so that they are going to be positioned like that. So see, there's still a gap in the middle, and you will need to let the glue dry. It does take a little bit of while for fabric glue to dry. So now what I'm going to do is round here, because we want this exposed. So round here, I'm going to put another line of glue, and then I'm going to put another bit of material, and that's going to be the main bit that we're going to be able to see through the patch on the other side when we turn the jeans the right way out. This is just another little scrap out of one of the sample books. So you've got the glue around there, and then we're just going to apply that patch right over the top there. And when that is dry, I will just sew around the edges just to secure it. But I should be able to turn it inside out to show you just then. So that would be what you would be left with. Can you see that? The lace at the edge and the fabric in the middle as well? And obviously if you're using hessian, it looks a lot more rugged and a lot rougher, but I like that look. I really like it. It's the same if you pull tartan, it has the similar effect. But that would be how I would patch a pair of jeans, or similarly a sofa.
Or a jumper.
Or a jumper. This is a good example of painting jeans. So one of the other classes, as Chris said, that I teach is furniture upcycling, and this was demonstrating how steadfast paint can be on clothing multiple times. So this is chalk paint. So if you are ever deciding to paint anything and you happen to have chalk paint lying about and you would like to use that, if you get it on your clothing and if you let it dry, that will not come off. That will stay there for quite a while, forever. Thank you very much, Janice. Thank you. So there's, and that's that other patch there, the finished one, the one that's all glued. Is that okay? Is that quite easy? Has everyone got the sort of gist of that? One other thing we've got, because I think there's a few people having to go and get dinner and stuff now. So another thing that I'll show you very quickly is reshaping shirts. So there's a lot of shirts that I've got that are really quite baggy at the moment, and they're just not fitted very well. So what I'm going to do to refit that, or what I do to refit that, is where you've got the darts at the back. See these bits that give you that fold line that gives you the fitting? Well, most of them aren't done very well on women. at all. So what I've done is I'm going to put little loops of ribbon all the way down these darts, so there'll be like 4 on each side, and then that'll turn the shirt into a corseted back, and it will give it a much better fit. They look a lot nicer on that way. But that's a really good easy cheat if you've got a nice shirt but it's not fitted to the standard that you would like it. And lastly, we get to do anatomy of a sweater, which is my favourite thing. So anatomy of a sweater is all the different ways in which you can upcycle sweaters. Now, there's loads of different ways for this. Again, there's lots and lots of tutorials online. You start with any jumper, any old jumper that you're not that into anymore. And with the one that we're going to do, since it's coming up to Christmas, you get mittens, you get a scarf, and you get a beanie hat out of it. And it's great fun. So this is what you start with, any old sweater. And we'll drop this into the group chat as well, so just so that you can see. This is really handy. This is the anatomy of a sweater upcycling. It's 3 different ways in which you can upcycle sweaters and get 3 different sets of components out of it. This is the one that we're going for winter, because we've got mittens, a hat and a scarf, and it's a great present for people, especially when you're stuck in the house with nothing to do. Everyone can get hats and scarves and mittens for Christmas. It's very easy. And you really just have to follow the directions from the little diagrams there. As I said, we'll drop the link into the group chat, but I will show you on here in the meantime. So your mittens are from your jumper sleeves, and the way that you do them is we're going to draw the hand here and the thumb here. So you're going to have a thumb and then the curve of the hand, and all you do is sew along that line, and that's your mittens. I'll just draw this out quickly so that you can see. Do remember that you'll need to go in different ways. So this is the shape that you want to draw on the sleeve for your mitten. And you are going to be sewing round, here's one I made earlier, true Blue Peter fashion, all round here. So all round these bits. You won't have to sew down here unless the sleeves to this sweater were really wide, so I had to sew a little bit further down just to take it in so that it was a bit more fitted. But all the way around here is where we're sewing. You want to do a couple of times going over that line there, just to make sure that it's going to be secure. And you can adjust them. Everyone will have loads of old sweaters at this time of year, so just make, play about, adjust the shape. But that's the mittens that you get out of it, and that's just, you do one on each arm so that you've got your pair of mittens. Then for your scarf, there's a couple of ways you can do your scarf. You can either decide to cut two lengths out from here and you can sew them together, or you can do like a cowl scarf and be lazy, which is what I would tend to do. And that would be just to cut here. I'll draw the line for you. So you would cut along there and there. So you've got your mittens out of each sleeve, and then if you cut along the lines there, you will get, it'll be joined, I've cut this one, but you will get a long cowl scarf to match your mittens here. And then with the bottom part, we're going to make a hat. And you can either make a beanie hat or a slight hat. The difference in the shape will depend on how many curves you draw on the bottom of your jumper. So the one I'm going to do is for a beanie hat, because there's one here that I've made earlier. So you draw three rounded peaks for the beanie hat. And by the time you cut that out, there's 6, just because you're using the double layer. So this is the shape that you're going to cut out of the bottom, like this. and you then sew that together. So beanie hats, you have your 3 peaks drawn. So I'm just going to cut these out very quickly. So with the beanie hat, all that we need to do with this one is, I'm going to use the sewing machine very quickly, is we just sew along the line. So I'm going to start with this line, and I'm going to sew up here, and then I'm going to sew up here, and then I'm going to sew up here, and I'm just going to keep going round and round and round. But you'll see, I'll get my sewing machine up just so that we can demonstrate a little bit better. Right, so what we're doing here is we're just going to go up this line here, and then I'm going to start from this line here and just go around the hat to try and build the shape. So we started with this line at the seam, and it's the running stitch that I'm going to do along here. Oh. And just going to keep going around here until I get to the apex of that one, and then I'm going to start at the other side. So we're at the apex of that little bump. And you would want to tie these knots up off, as I showed you before. I'm just trying to do this very quickly because it'll take a lot longer than it would have had my sewing machine not decided to have a bit of a fit, but such as the joys of crafting.
Sewing machines know. They always know when you need them the most.
They do. They're really bad at that. So this side's sewn, and the bit next to that, I've just sewn this one here, so the bit right next to it, I'm just going to join those 2 bits together and sew along this seam, and then I'm going to work my way around the rest of it doing the exact same thing. And the reason I'm working from all the sides and leaving a bit in the middle is so that if you so wished, you could add a pom-pom or whichever decoration you wish to add at the top. So can you see how that's starting to form a shape now? Oh, that's really good. To find an overlocker for that, that's excellent.
I couldn't believe it. I wish I'd have bought one.
Right, so this will give you the idea of, once you've got all those bits together, that's the shape you're going to have, that sort of beanie shape. And because we sewed up all the individual seams, it leaves you the opportunity to, if you had a pom-pom, which I did have somewhere. So if you had a pom-pom, say this is your pom-pom, and right, if this is your pom-pom and you want to add it onto your hat, at the point where you have just about sewn up all the sides, you would feed the string of the pom-pom through there and sew it in place and close up the seams from the bottom. That would then leave your pom-pom as the only thing exposed on the top of the hat, like this. Well, Anita. Does that make sense? Is that okay? I know that wasn't ideal because my sewing machine started giving up the ghost, but yeah.
I put the link in the description and I'll send that out to people as well anyway.
But does that make sense how the hat shapes together? It's quite difficult to see, I guess, with your
I think it's one of those things that you need to have in front of you and do it. But I mean, the description sort of made sense there. It's going next apex to next apex, right?
Yeah.
Or half going through the semicircle and
Yeah, that's it. I'm just trying to show you the shape a little bit better here, just to, because I've not tied everything off as I should have properly. So the shape would be more like that, you know. If I've got it sewed all the way around, that's sort of what you're going to get. And then you've got your mittens that are matching, and then you've got your scarf to match as well. And that's you, all set for winter and all set for all your Christmas presents. Well, I hope that that gave a lot of you, if not some of you, some ideas of things that you can be doing with things that might be lying about your house that otherwise would get flung in the bin or maybe get forgotten about, and this maybe gives them a lease of life and avoids them going to landfill. As myself and Chris said before, the class by no means stops today, so if you would like to contact me for any questions, any info, if you're doing anything specific that you've got a certain query about, feel free just to get in touch and I'll be more than happy to answer your questions, as I'm sure Chris will as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think I've really got anything to add to that. So check us out on transitionstirling.org.uk. We're on all the social medias as well. And we have a community group page as well. Yeah, hopefully well, I think everyone got something out of that. So keep an eye out on the other things that we're doing. And yeah, thank you very much, Michaella, as always. Always a great workshop with good. Thank you for coming and enjoy the rest of your evening and the rest of the week.
And please let us see everything that you make. I'm always really excited to see anything that anyone makes off the back of these. So please give me a shout and let me know what you've came up with. I'd be thrilled to see all of your makes. Thank you very much to everyone for your ideas that you gave me as well. And I look forward to talking to some of you soon, if I don't see you on the weekend for the furniture upcycling shop.
Cool, good. Okay, good evening, good night.